Hello. Welcome in, guys. We're going to wait just a little bit and make sure everybody gets in here and gets started for the day. So let's just give it a little bit here. All right, that number keeps climbing. Get started here in about 10, 15 seconds. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are located today. Hope you are having a fantastic day or just starting your day off today. Welcome in. We are doing elevating the customer experience with AI-powered e-commerce support today with Linnworks and eDesk. So just to go through a couple of things, what we're going to work on chat through today is why customer service matters. We all know about that customer service, the state of e-commerce and customer service challenges that we all face, using AI and how customer service can be used, and building a future-proof tech stack. And then we'll end with questions and answers. And throughout the day, throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in that question box, and we'll get to them, whether it's throughout it or at the very end. We'll try to address all of this. So moving on without further ado, we'll see our lovely faces here in just a second. But my name is Mady Mitchell. I'm the Partner Account Manager here at Linnworks, and I'm joined with Evan from eDesk. Hi, Evan.
Hi, Mady. Nice to meet you today.
Yeah, absolutely. Excited to talk about all this stuff. We've got lots to talk through and go on. So let's just keep on moving. So e-commerce, customer service is one of those areas where it's always important to do. I remember one of the things that shopping with my grandparents and stuff like that, walking into the stores, customer service was one of the things that always drove them back. Well, that's something we have to kind of translate today into e-commerce. And some of the expectations with e-commerce are rising to equal that thing that we do in person for that customer service, making this seamless server basically serve as a core driver of e-commerce and growth and loyalty. I know myself, I'm a very big loyal person when it comes to brands. So until you do me dirty, I'm going to be a loyal customer of yours. And so I want to make sure that customer service is there. And then fragmented systems, these are kind of the crutch that kind of get people down and doesn't help them accelerate as fast as they want to. Being able to have the data siloed several different marketplaces, not being able to see that, it eliminates some of that hard parts that they have in scaling the service across the multiple channels and markets. And AI is out there. It is the biggest buzzword of the year, I think. It is all over the place. And how AI and automation basically offer these major opportunities, but some people are still a little hesitant to use it. 26% of customers retailers cite that customer support challenges as a barrier to international expansion. So if they don't have this, it's hard for them to expand. We also have another cool stat later on about how many people have hesitated to kind of use AI. So gonna jump right in here, Evan. Jumping into us right here. What I want to know, I want to kind of ask about all this. What is the biggest thing to be able to have, and why it's so crucial to have that e-commerce in the customer service? Like that is something that you have to have in order to be able to build that brand. What do you think that is so crucial for brands today?
Yeah, I think it goes back to your introduction, maybe. Your grandparents shopping, that personalized experience, they know the people that they're speaking to, they feel like they're getting a personalized experience, right? So translating that into e-commerce hasn't always been easy. It's been a messy process over the years, and there's some pinch points around that I think that are really crucial. So customers still have that expectation firstly. So customer expectations are there and increasing all the time. We know that. They expect personalization at scale, and that includes across multiple channels. So you expect to be able to buy on one channel and come back on another, and for the seller to have a unified view of you as a customer, right? So it's that personalization, that personal experience that you spoke about. So that's really important. And as you also said, you are loyal until someone does you dirty, right?
Yeah.
And I think That is a universal thing. I think a recent HubSpot study showed that 70% of buyers will move on after one poor customer support experience.
Mhm.
And we know in the data and even just in conventional wisdom, um, loyal customers will spend more than new customers. So the
Mhm.
longer your relationship continues with a brand, the bigger your average order value, the more you're going to spend all the time, come back, etc. It costs more to win new customers. So the expectations are there and the stakes are really high. So that's one side of it. There's and to I suppose meet those expectations. What customers really want is fast response times and personalization. The other thing that you mentioned was that fragmentation, right? So if you have this siloed data, siloed information, so when you think about the customer support experience, there is the pre-sales. You need to understand what products the customer is talking about, what they're looking at. Then it's okay, they buy it, then there's the order. You need to have the order data. Then there's after that all the 3PL, courier, everything there. So all of that information through the journey, if that's in siloed places or in tools that don't speak to each other, it's extremely difficult to give a personalized experience. And then finally, just to complicate things, AI on top. So we see it all the time. Right? We know that, as you said, that it's the buzzword of this year and even last year. But there's a lot of trepidation there. It's not easy to know where to begin. So that's something that I'm excited to chat to you about today as well.
Yeah, AI and automation. I love to make sure that everybody knows the difference between those two because I feel like sometimes those can get a little bit
Mhm.
confused. So that's one of the things that I love to talk about as well, about that. But like from your perspective, like how have you seen this evolve and change, and how the expectations kind of have changed over the past years just for e-commerce?
Yeah, I guess it is the omni-channel thing that's a real change, right? So that wasn't an expectation a couple of
Mhm.
years ago. Now the omni-channel experience is really important. I think ironically, AI is actually heightening customer expectations, but it can be a double-edged sword, right? We've all at some point being served an AI chatbot and not wanted to speak to it as well. When your question
Yeah.
is really specific. So we've all experienced that too. So I think there are things that are changing a lot, and AI is really becoming an important part of it. And how you actually operationalize that is so important. So I think that issue that I just touched on there, and I could see you nodding in agreement, right? We've all
Yeah.
had that, so that's why there is that trepidation for people, and getting that right is so important.
Yeah, I mean, even personally, I have a product that I love, and I used to always buy it from their website. And I had a really poor experience buying it just from their website. So although
Mm,
I love the product and want to continue to buy it, I switched to a marketplace to buy it from because I felt that that was more secure and I could get it
yeah,
easier. But these having your places in all different areas is also fragmented and it's
yeah.
disconnected systems. So if you don't have your systems connected to be able to go in that, so in customer service, what are some of those challenges you're seeing with those fragmented systems going in here?
Yeah, I think one of the most basic things, right, is customers don't want to have to recount their issue multiple times. They expect you to understand what's happening at that moment. So again,
Mhm.
if you've got fragmentation, you're not going to have that. Then the fast response times, if you have to switch between tools as a customer support agent, if you don't have an integrated stack, then you're going to have inefficiencies and things start to fall through the cracks. So that's what we mean by fragmentation, or that's how it manifests in the customer experience. And if I had to kind of look at or speak to what to do for people who are struggling with this at the moment, I think you need to start to look at where those black spots are, right? Where you don't have interoperability between your tools, so
Mhm.
you don't have that integrated stack. So mapping that out is super important. So I'd say that is that's kind of one of the key things and the key starting points when it comes to that having that integrated system, right?
Yeah, and this can overall impact the full experience that they have with,
Mm.
the customer and everything.
Yeah, 100%. If you, as I said, if you've got those black spots, then what you're finding is you're going to have to start asking like the customer when they contact you, they're not going to quote you an order number in most cases. They're going to say, "Here's my problem." They expect that you know exactly who they are and what the order number is. So on the eDesk side, what we really concentrate on is having native integrations with the marketplace, so that when you send an email or if you contact through the marketplace, that order is immediately connected. And if that order is connected, then we know what order you're talking about. We know what the issues are, when it was shipped. You have all of that context. There's nothing more frustrating, right, than you email, you say my order's late, and someone comes back and they say, well, firstly, you're in a queue, blah blah blah, and then eventually they come back and they say, oh, what's the order? I'll check it for you, and then it's another day, and we in these days of next day delivery, that's just not going to fly with customers, right?
Hmm. Yeah, that the Amazon effect is what I call that. And
Yeah,
my
yeah, that's
my husband is the key component of the antsy person who, as soon as they see that label's been generated, and we know being in
yeah,
e-commerce that that label generated does not mean it's left the building yet. It just means that
yes.
it's been generated. And he's like, "Oh, it's been shipped," and I'm like, "Might want to go back and read that." So even those notifications can set people off to come in, and that's where that customer
Yeah.
service really has to kind of come in and really play a key part, especially if it's all unified. Then they can see
Mm,
exactly where it is and where it goes. One of our reports kind of showed that 26% of the respondents saw customer service as being a harsh thing to be able to go
mm,
into international selling. What can you guys talk to about that as far as being able to
mm.
future proof their tech stack to be able to excel and really grow internationally?
Yeah, absolutely. So we see this all the time with customers coming to us. So it's a blocker from multiple perspectives. So you've got legal things, you've got logistics, you've got all of those pieces, right? From a customer support perspective, what you've got is it's a little bit different. What people worry about is if you're moving into a new region with different languages. That's a
Mhm.
really key piece. You don't know demand, so are you going to hire agents to speak local languages? Being able to test the waters like that, that's really tricky and can really slow people down. So that's something that they worry about a lot. And then, you've got marketplaces that have they've got different policies. So trying to grapple with all of those different policies when you could be selling across, if you're we've got lots of sellers in eDesk that are selling across even hundreds of marketplaces, and
Mhm.
so if you're selling across all of these places, trying to keep track of that and add is really difficult. So some of the things that we look at is you want to make sure your customer support software integrates with where you sell. And so that's our bread and butter at eDesk. It's this interoperability. Again, it's really important that that you can support everywhere you sell. So bringing that all into one place is really key. It's just similar to your orders, similar to everything else we're talking about. You need that integrated tech stack. And then when it comes to language, you want to have a tool that has a high quality language translation, so that if you're moving to a new market, even if you are hiring, if people are sick that day and all of a sudden you don't have someone who can respond to your Spanish queries, you need to have that. You need to have that backup, and you need to have a solid, preferably AI translation tool, to be able to respond to queries. So customer support doesn't have to be a blocker to expanding internationally. You just need to use the right tool. So if you're out there in the market looking and you are someone who is expanding your reach and your channels, make sure that you get a tool that has as many integrations as possible with the marketplaces, so you get that key order data. And then you want to have something with really solid translation if you're moving to geos with different languages.
Yeah, translation didn't even cross my mind. Mine was, that didn't even come up in my brain of thinking, oh, what about translations?
Yeah.
We have everybody says they sell on Amazon, and you could be selling in several different of the different Amazons even, and you need the translation there. So that's a great thing to bring up. So let's switch this topic to the thing that most people, let's be real, that they signed up for is AI, the buzzword that's going around here. So it's of course the most talked about thing, but people are skeptic of it. People don't know where to
Mhm.
start. And for a retailer just getting started, where would you say that they need to start with customer service and AI?
That's a really good question. So I have helped a lot of retailers onboard our AI agent in the last 6 months, and I think one of the things, or like the key thing, really is clarity. And so that is, you want clarity in your policies. So what I mean by that is you see it all the time in customer support situations where you believe, and so as a customer support manager or operations manager, you believe that you've got the right processes and clear processes. But
Mm-hmm.
then when you really dig into it, it's the same as hiring a new person. If you join my team today, maybe if I don't clearly tell you how we deal with returns, how we deal with late orders, how, for example, if an order is less than a certain amount, we'll offer a partial refund and tell you not to send it back. All of the minutiae of how you deal with it, you need to be clear in your processes because when you're using AI, it's the same as hiring a new person on your team. If you don't tell it how you operate and how you work, and if you don't work consistently and you have lots of different gray areas, they'll start to come up and bubble up. So before we get into the technology, it's actually about looking inward about your operations. And it's not that everything has to be perfect. No organization is perfect in their processes, but starting to map those out is really important and really helpful. And then it's back to that thing that we've been talking about in terms of fragmentation, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have good data, it's that old adage of, garbage in, garbage out. So you need to make sure you've got really good data. So again, I know I'm repeating myself a lot, but you need to have an integrated system. So from a customer support perspective, what are the things you need? You need again the order data because an AI agent is going to be flying blind if it doesn't have the order
Mm-hmm.
data. Then you want to have your tracking links. So whether you're getting them from Linnworks, for example, or you're pulling them through like an integration there, or if you get them directly from the marketplace, you want to have that so that when your where's my order queries come in, you can take those automatically. For a lot of sellers, that's 25% automated if you can do that properly. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's clarity in processes, it's clarity in data. So they're the really important things and really important starting points. After that, there's more you can add to that. So you can add your policies, your content around your products. So there's lots of different ways to do that, right? It's kind of table stakes in the market now to be able to scrape a website and pull it in, or to use an AI scraper to pull in data, structured data around all of your products. And if you have that like we have at eDesk, you'll be able to deal with pre-sales without any worries because there you don't, if you're using the right tools, you don't need to have perfect data and processes because they'll pull it in for you. But then when it comes to the post sales and the returns and refunds and all those messy
Mm-hmm.
things, you really need to make sure you're thinking about your policies.
Well, you touched on a couple of things there that want to kind of let me switch to this next little area of the chat and
Mhm.
AI. And I remember many moons ago when this first came out, I had to sit there and type in all the questions, and it started learning itself. when people ask about the accuracy of chat, both on the customer side and on the seller
Mhm.
side, what are some of the trust concerns that you hear and that how eDesk kind of helps and addresses that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the cold start is hard, and it's
Mm.
getting that gaining that trust requires results, right? So I think what we allow people to do is we allow you to switch on your AI agent in preview. And so what that does is, you can see what it would say without actually responding to the customer. So I think being able to do that is really important. We see a lot of sellers starting off that way, and then they build a trust over time. The other thing that's actually really important is um, having a key agent in your team that actually takes ownership of the AI, just the way they might actually shadow a new employee. So there's a lot of tools around our AI agent that um, show you what it doesn't know. So we have something that's called we call it the gap report. And basically what it does is it tells you by looking at what agents are saying every day, it would kind of put its hand up and say, "Hey, I don't know about this. Tell me about it."
Yeah,
And so it's its way of saying, "Give me the information." So we flag that, and then once people start to engage with that, they start to understand. Okay, now I get it. I need to feed it the right information so that it knows what we're doing and what to do. So that's kind of two steps, right? So the first thing is it's and the most successful companies that I'm seeing in getting to 40 or 50% contribution, right? So that's the AI agent
yeah,
responding. They are the ones that are actually taking a very experienced agent and asking them to put a day a week, not into responding to tickets, but into training the AI agent. And that's exponential return because the AI agent will go forever now with those responses once it's trained.
yeah.
And so that's like you have to be willing to if you want the best possible results, you have to be willing to put some resource into it so that you can train it and learn. And what I really see is you see people, then you see that moment when it clicks and they start to get it and they come back to me and they say, "Oh, I told it this and I fed it that and I gave it this instruction and it worked." And then it's an iterative approach. So then you might change it and tweak it a little bit, and all of a sudden you're getting another 5% contribution. So there's the trust in terms of at the very beginning with the cold start of just
Hmm.
switch it on in a safe environment so that it's just previewing. But don't expect it to all of a sudden be your best agent and reply to
Yeah,
everything. So you need that engagement too. And once what I see at least is once, even if the person doesn't really know anything about AI, that's completely fine. It's more that they know your customer support system, your
hmm,
processes, and how it works. And you'd be amazed how quickly people not only engage with it but enjoy it, enjoy the training, enjoy seeing the results and the contribution rate. Kind of, there's a gamification almost there in terms of seeing it edge up and edge up. So the trust factor is like previously with 3 years ago when the AI journey started, there was a lot of the word hallucination was around a lot, and there was a lot of mistrust back then.
hmm.
I think things have moved on now, and it's there's much more guardrails in place. So, for example, we have a two-step guardrail. How that works is number one, we have what looks to you as one AI agent is actually many AI agents in the background. So one of ours is a QA AI agent. And so a ticket will go all the way from the start where the AI will understand what it's about and go through what data do you have and then look at replying. But at the very end, there's this one AI agent goes, "Actually, no, I don't like this answer. There's some risk here," and it will shut it down and it won't be automatically replied. So that's one of the key guardrails. And the second one is we compare against what your agents are actually saying for something we call correctness internally. And basically, if it's not a good answer compared to how your AI, how your human agents are replying, then again, that gets shut down. So you also need to know that there's guardrails there and understand them and trust them too. So that's a key part on any system.
Yeah, I mean, I love using a chat really quickly if I can get an answer out of it. It's nice. But what would you say? We did an annual survey, product survey, and 26% of people say that they are scared to use AI. They haven't even started trying to put it in
Mhm.
anywhere in their product. So what do you have to say to them, the people who haven't started yet, and what do you see as an AI evolving in the customer service landscape over the next few years, besides the chat or anything like that? Where else do
Mhm.
you kind of see this AI playing an impact?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good question. So I think you can start small, right?
Mhm.
So you can use AI throughout your tech stack. In eDesk, I think it's about just getting started. And again, that preview and getting started with low risk is really important. But yeah, I think that if you like as you said at the beginning, it's here. There's no running away from that. It's not
Hmm.
changing. And if you are not and not to bring more fear to those people, but if you don't start today, you are going to be at a big disadvantage in 6 or 9 months because those those people who are already automating 25%, 50%, that's a big gap to have to fill over time. So I think it's not scary. As I said, I'm working with people who haven't even used ChatGPT before and they're loving, there's a reward to that for them. So I think it's about nominating that responsible person who they don't, as I said, they don't need to be a technology maven or a whiz in any way. They just need to understand your processes and want to make things better. I think in terms of where things are going, automating your inbox as opposed to your chat is a really interesting challenge that's very different.
Okay.
I think when it comes to chat, chat interactions tend to be more simple. So you tend to have many more questions that are just about products where AI isn't deeply challenged. But then when it comes to your inbox, there's a lot more minutia in there. So there's a lot more
Hmm.
cases that are really specific that are more complex. And training AI, giving it the information that it needs to do that is a very different challenge from the we all know about the chatbots out there, and eDesk has a chatbot too, and they can do amazing work deflecting 70%
Yeah.
of your responses. The investment or the key kind of area that I'm super interested in the moment is the inbox. So managing to train AI to the extent that it can actually deal with complex processes, that's what we're all about at eDesk at the moment. And that is a super interesting challenge, and we're seeing really, really good results at the moment. So I think that's a space that a lot of our competitors are shying away from a little bit
Hmm.
because they're not specifically e-commerce like us. So they don't have the capabilities to actually go into that type of detail. Whereas as I said, that's our kind of bread and butter integrating with everywhere you sell. So that's a really interesting space, I think.
Yeah. Awesome. So you touched on something, Evan, earlier about how you've dealt with a couple of customers who, before
Mhm.
talking to them, they'd never used ChatGPT before
Yeah.
even. So they're very, very new. Do you have
Mhm.
any success stories of people like coming in and using AI for the first time and how it's really helped their customer experience?
Absolutely. So I didn't ask permission for names, so I won't mention names, but Sam, who is works for a UK company that are in electronics. I started working with Sam probably when we were in beta. about 4 or 5 months ago, and yeah, Sam knew nothing about AI, but her CEO knew that AI was here and wanted something to happen, but obviously he didn't have time to invest. So Sam was handed the project, and she was, I would say, skeptical at the beginning,
Hmm.
and had the similar trepidations about not not knowing exactly what she was getting herself in for. Um, I now don't speak to Sam quite as regularly because she's well through the beta, but she so their contribution rate for their inbox alone is into the 30s. But the what I did see is that um what she was she's coming back to me now, telling me things about how the AI is working, and the way that she's kind of taken it on and enjoyed it, and really brought it along beyond what a lot of people who are working in the tech industry wouldn't
Hmm.
be able to do. That's the level that she's at today. So I think that's one that I've enjoyed the most, working with Sam to bring it forward. So there's lots of other cases like that. It really doesn't require even a lot of the language around AI is kind of moving into the tech world of test and deploy and these kind of words, and that does if you're not from a tech background, it can be a little bit
Hmm.
scary, I think. But it's bringing that no code world and the ability to create AI agents that are really making significant impact in businesses. So I think that's something that we're going to continue to see, right? So I think what's what's key there is having the tech stack and the data.
Hmm.
So if you don't have to be able to do that yourself if you use the tools that plug into it. But I know that today there's a lot of retailers out there using many tools, a kind of patchwork of tools. So I suppose to turn it back and ask you a couple of questions, maybe. Why would you say a unified platform is so important for scalability and efficiency?
Yeah, great question. We've said it time and time again about this unified platform, and we have never really honed on like why it's so important. And if you have a customer service rep that they get a message in and they have to go into three, four, five, six different systems to find what they need to find, do everything, then go back to the customer service platform that they then have to answer it on or anything like that, or an inbox, it can take a while and it could take a toll on the customer service. It can take a toll on the employee, and you don't want them to be frustrated. You want them to be able to be efficient, and you want the number of tickets that they can answer quickly. So when you have all that unified, you have everything dumping into one system. So for
Hmm.
eDesk and Linnworks together, eDesk has all the information from all the marketplaces. We have all the data as well from the order. So we push everything in and out so we can send things back and forth to each other, as well as being able to put notes, push that note back.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's, we've honed a lot on shipping and where's my product? What if it's, I have a problem with my product? I need a new product. Can you help me
Hmm.
get a different size? That kind of stuff even can be handled and stuff like that quicker because you can see the inventory within Linnworks to be able to see if you can even fulfill it, to redo it, and the AI or the agent there can take care of everything. So having everything together, it's efficient. And that's what we want in business today, as well as all your data points are in one place. You have that
Yeah.
data. We have a success story I'll touch on here in a second about they weren't able to get all the data points and understand where it is. And I've talked to several of the guys over there at eDesk, and they're like, yeah, people, when they continue to hear this issue, they wonder what it is, whether it's something
Yeah.
in inventory, like the wrong product went out 5 different times. Why did the same product go out wrong? That's going to be on your inventory side of things and the warehouse side of things. So you can go back to the warehouse, and because you didn't have a product like Linnworks in place to quality control and all that stuff, so you have to get to the root of the problem, even if it's not just the shipping. You need to understand the complaints coming in from the customer of why it's going on, and that data source is so important to be able to understand what your clients are saying time and time again. And you want to know that. And if you have to go into 10 different places to be able to figure all that out, I don't want to be the person pulling all that data. That's all I'm going to say. And I love data. Data is at my
Yeah.
heart. Like I love to go through all of it, all the stats that my marketing team has. It's fantastic. But at the end of the day, you want to move fast as a business owner. You want
Yeah.
to be able to have one view, and you want your employees in your company to be able to be efficient in the job and be successful. Because at the end of the day, they're going to have those aha moments, just like the person you were talking about did, of that aha moment of, I've trained this AI agent. I'm successful. I have made an impact on this business, and they're not just a customer
Yeah.
service representative anymore.
Yeah, 100%. And I think being able to thread that needle all the way through is again something that you just can't do unless you have that unified tech stack.
Mhm.
Trying to pull it all together is you're going to struggle. You're really going to struggle. So whether it's so there's a cost to that. There's an organizational cost, and it also affects your bottom line because you're going to. So for example, if in eDesk, one of the things we have in eDesk is you can see what products are causing the most tickets. So that's your starting point, right? That's the front line where you see, okay, I've got an issue here, and then you can thread that back through your Linnworks, and you can see into Linnworks and see, okay, here's what's
Yeah.
going on. Here's my issues.
Yeah, you're getting to the core issue of the problem and solving it so that it doesn't happen again. And that's
Mhm.
really that data point that can really bring it together for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as, the integration, when we work together, it is two separate
Yeah,
platforms. You have an eDesk portal that the customer service representative is kind of working through the entire time. Am I correct in that statement?
it's yeah. So in eDesk, the way it works is we integrate with everything basically. So
Hmm.
everywhere you sell and constantly bringing it in. So it's a single unified platform. So um, there's a few things around that. So firstly, you're not logging into all of these different places. There's security around that. There's efficiency around that. So everything comes into eDesk, and you can respond from there. It's also just more efficient, right? You're dealing with the one screen, the one UI, everything is the same every time, and you can move through it. But then if you think about even from a reporting perspective, um, if you have it's the same, it's a similar point. If you're selling on more than three or four places, if you had to report on those without having a tool that people are working in, trying to report on that is a nightmare. And we've seen lots of customers coming to us doing that on more than 10 marketplaces or web stores and trying to report on that. And they've got these massive Excels, and it's impressive that they're managing to do it, but they don't need to. And then where the Linnworks integration comes in is, I guess, as you were saying, it's a two-way integration. So one of the things is you can call it, we make a call to Linnworks, and we see more information on the customer, the delivery information, the address, where it's going. So it just enriches that data. So you have the context. And then on the other side, you can push your notes to Linnworks um, so that anyone there can view and understand what's going on in eDesk.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you have customers, I assume, using high volumes. I know we were talking earlier about somebody who had lots of tickets because of some issues going on. eDesk can handle high volumes, correct?
Yeah, whatever. What we haven't run into any volumes that causes any issues. Like we have agencies that have over 1,000 channels connected to eDesk because they're doing customer support for many brands. And so they're able to scale with eDesk in a way that they wouldn't be able to do anywhere else. So yeah, eDesk really is built for scale. And I think a lot of the things that we've spoken about all relate to that word scale, right? Because
Mhm.
if you don't have systems like eDesk and Linnworks for tying things together, also, the things I mentioned earlier on about your policies and your ways of working, that scale as well, right? So if you can get those things right, if you're serious about growth, they for me are kind of the things that you need to be looking at so that you can have scalability. You can have that flex in your organization so that scalability doesn't break things.
Yeah.
The same as moving to new marketplaces, right? And new
Yeah.
markets.
And I think that's why Linnworks and eDesk work so well together because we do both have all the connections to all the different marketplaces so that you can have a unified system back and forth. So, just kind of to summarize some of the things that we chatted about today, it's the echoing effect we've continued to say. It's a unified tech stack. We've talked about it, we've honed on it over and over and over again. This is where it's going to speed that consistency. That's where the efficiency is going to come from, is when everything is integrated. The service tools, operational systems, it gives you full visibility into all the orders, the inventory, the customer history, anything that needs to be in there. And if you're looking at doing AI, like Evan said, start small, start then educate it, educate that AI chatbot. The more you can do with that, the better it's going to be before you can really scale to having more complex algorithms and things like that in place. And then prioritize scalability over quick fixes. If you have an injured shoulder or knee or something like that, a band-aid's not going to help that. Taking medicine is not going to help that. You got to get it fixed. So you got to put that fix in the right way the first time. It's work smart, not continue to work hard. You need to continue to get that kind of stuff in place right away before you kind of do anything else. And like I had mentioned, some of the success stories, a mutual client of ours, they said before they used eDesk, human error was a huge issue. They had to check 15 plus different marketplaces. So having all that unified commerce into one place really helped them accelerate here and improved their time management. Think about how much time you can get back in your day if you're incorporating something like this. You can actually take a lunch break. That's one of the bonuses here. And then you also have the full visibility. They were able to get some of that data points that Evan was talking about, being able to really understand where the issues were coming from, how many customers were affected with different things, and help them scale without losing control and losing sight of the business. So, we have several customers who have echoed this sentiment over and over again that putting it together, it was a no-brainer after they kind of got it in place. And they're able to really scale. So I'm going to kind of open the floor up to any questions. If anybody, I know we had a couple come in. We addressed the one that, yes, this is a separate application that works with eDesk or eDesk works with Linnworks to make sure everything's in there and they can help you. And we'll show a link up after this, some QR codes that you can scan to be able to get some more information on both products if whatever you have a question for today. The other question we have, Evan, I'll pose this one to you, is can you connect eDesk and Monday.com?
Not currently. We have an API that it can be done through, but I'd be really interested to speak to that person after. So I will share my email address, and if you could share that on, because it's not one that's come up too many times. Obviously, I've worked with Monday.com a lot. I think it's a great product, but the use case is something I'd be, as a product manager, I'd be really interested to know more about. So I'll be happy to chat through that one with Kyle, I think it was after. So I'll share my details and we can dig into that one.
Yeah. I have a question for you. At what point do you feel like people, when they hit how many marketplaces, do you think integrating and using a system such as eDesk really starts to help?
Yeah, so I think there's always the volume, right? So if you're a D2C selling only on Shopify and forever only selling on Shopify, when you start to hit a certain scale, when things start to break from using Gmail or a generic inbox or your Zendesks, that's a really good time to come to us. But then when you're looking at the marketplace world, um, the what we tend to find is that when someone hits around 4 to 5 marketplaces, or 4 to 5 sales channels rather than marketplaces,
Hmm.
if that's somewhere that that's when they really start to feel the pain, where the logging into multiple places, switching tabs, um, obviously particularly in marketplaces, you've got SLAs, which then affect your seller scores and all of that thing, all of those really important things if you want to be successful on a marketplace. That drag tends to happen at around 4 to 5 marketplaces, or 4 to 5 sales channels, and we see a lot of customers that are, customer service managers that are kind of a little bit frazzled at that point, and they come to us and they need a little bit of help, or it's at the point as well where the sales have come, and someone has just become the dedicated support person. So they, up until now, they've been working multiple jobs within it, and it's come to a point where they need to get serious about customer support.
Hmm.
So that's another tipping point that we see for customers. And then there's the people whose systems just don't really tend to work for them anymore. They could be like the customer I mentioned. So selling on thousands of channels, and agencies that don't know about a solution that's built for that kind of scale. That's
Hmm.
another one. So depending on the profile, it will be for your average seller, 3 to 4, hitting big scale, or then if you're an agency or someone who represents a lot of brands, we tend to see them coming in a lot too.
Yeah. We have one more question that kind of came in from Kyle as well. Is there any way to open multiple tickets in a single tab at the same time for easier workflow management?
So yeah, absolutely. You could open multiple tickets multiple tickets in a single tab. Uh, so we have what people tend to do with eDesk is they'll kind of blaze through tickets one after the other. So we've never had a request for multiple in a single tab, because the other thing that we do is the entire conversation with that customer is within a single ticket. So yeah, again, with my product manager hat on, I'd be really interested to dig into that one a little bit more as to the why behind it, so that we could look at that and see what we could do with it. So I think Kyle and I will have a good conversation, I hope, next week. So I'll hope that we can do a session on that.
Absolutely. Evan, that's my favorite thing is the why. Why do you want to do that? Is it by circumstance that you have it that way? Or is this just because you don't know any other difference? Why is one of my favorite questions to ask ask people because as a partner manager, even it helps you learn why
Yeah.
people are using products and why what they're doing in their business. So thank you so much, Evan, for chatting with us today. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation here. For those who attended, thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to go ahead and pop up these QR codes. They're ways that you can kind of get back in touch with us by scanning that QR code and reaching out to us. You've got the eDesk one and the Linnworks one up there. Again, my name is Mady Mitchell. I'm partner manager here at Linnworks. Have a fantastic day.
Thanks so much, everyone.